That's why the thing never came. Hey, Wendy Handy here, and welcome to my podcast, Self Healing Podcast. You're not stuck with your diagnosis. I am a wife, a dog mom, an entrepreneur, and lover of all things health and wellness. And I'm here with my really good friend, Ann Diaz, who we have been through similar paths with our own health journey, and now shifted over to our husbands. And Anne is a retired registered neonatal intensive care nurse. She is married to a physician, a neonatologist. She's a mother of 4, grandmother of 9, with 1 due this month. So without further ado, welcome Anne.
Thanks so much for having me, Wendy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Anne, tell us about your story and how you got started back 20 years ago when your own health was not doing so well, and what caused you to seek an alternative to conventional medicine?
Well, originally my journey started with the diagnosis of my father with pancreatic cancer. And as you well know, there's not much in conventional medicine that will treat that type of cancer. And so I began to research any and everything outside of conventional medicine. Sadly, my dad succumbed to that cancer, but it did put me on the path of a world to medicine, of medicine outside conventional. And when my own health began to decline, when I was in my early 30s, I had a complete hysterectomy, and it just seemed like everything fell apart from there. This resource of another form of medicine, traditional medicine, didn't provide me, was something that I drew on to try to find answers for my own health.
Absolutely. And so you took what you had, labs that you had, and from your conventional doctors, and kind of did your own research. Tell us a little bit about that.
I did that by necessity because I first of all started within my traditional circle of physicians, and they tended to look at my laboratory results, and as long as those were within the normal range, they would look at me and tell me, "You're actually just fine." And I knew I wasn't fine because of all of my symptoms. And it was very frustrating because I would tell them, but I have this symptom, this one, and this one, and it didn't it didn't fall outside the normal lab value, so I got no help. I actually crossed my state of Florida, east, west, north, and south, going to different doctors, even who were open-minded to that. But I just could not get any better. In fact, I got worse as time went on. I had symptoms of my hair falling out, lack of energy, couldn't sleep, gaining weight, could not stop, on and on and on, my symptoms. And I just knew that I wasn't getting any better. So I finally realized that I'm not a piece of paper. I'm a laboratory result. I'm a human. I don't,
Right.
I shouldn't be treated just by a piece of paper. And I told my husband, I'm going to need some help. And being a medical doctor, he had the ability to prescribe for me what I felt I needed. But when I asked him, I said, "Would you help me?" He said, "Only if you show me the scientific criteria by which you need that prescription or whatever you're asking me to intervene for." And so he did begin my journey of healing by having the bravery to do what I showed him would help me. And as I began to get better with my own hormone imbalance, we began to look at his hormones. We began to realize that, there was something to this, not just judging your health by a laboratory result. Thankfully, as some years passed, we began in our local area to have some physicians that were medical doctors but went outside traditional medicine to try to practice what's called anti-aging medicine, which is slow down the progression of aging. And when I went to my doctor the very first time and told her my history and told her the prescriptions that I was on that my husband was prescribing, because I asked him to, she said, "How in the world did you learn how to do that?" And I said, because I've read over 30 books and I have been my own strongest advocate because I know how I feel. And he was amazed and actually did not change anything in my health. And so it sort of took my husband off the hook at that fact to turn my healthcare over to her. And thankfully, since then, there are more and more of those types of physicians in our area.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm hearing you talk about that, it's reminding me of in my journey, the same thing is you are within the normal range on their paper, and yet you know how you feel, and it's not normal by any stretch. And that is a huge indicator because just because you're normal on their paperwork, that's normal for a group of people that they've tested. And every one of us human beings have different, we're just all different, 100%.
Absolutely. And actually, your body will speak to you. Your body and its symptoms are telling you there's a problem.
If you
And
listen, right?
yeah, if you listen, if you pay attention, that laboratory is taking an average of a group of people and averaging those numbers and those parameters. And maybe you're not average. Maybe, you fall outside the average, and yet your symptoms are screaming at you. There's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know that you and I are both going now through the same challenge with our spouses, and men in general are not quite as in tune with how they feel and or expressing how they feel as women are. And so tell us about that frustration.
Well, my husband is always been a very hardworking medical doctor, and I believe just his mindset is not to complain. He just surges forward and continues to work hard. But his symptoms have probably been trying to tap him on the shoulder and say, there's a problem, but in his mind, by acknowledging it's complaining or being weak in some way. And my husband, unfortunately, got a diagnosis of a blood cancer last March. And I often wonder how many years have his symptoms been tapping him on the shoulder saying, there's a problem here that needs to be addressed. And so, no, men are not very good. To this day, I quiz him many times a day. How are you feeling? How's that pain? How are you going to the bathroom? I want to know all of what his body is trying to tell him. So we keep him on the right path towards healing.
Absolutely. Well, I concur. So, so tell the people, and if somebody was to have received a diagnosis and feels like, golly, I just don't want this to be my destiny. This is what they're telling me is going to be the rest of my life, but I don't really want it to be that way, and I don't know that it has to be. What advice would you give that person?
Well, number one, as I mentioned before, be your own strongest advocate. And with that, you have access through the internet to a world of information. You need to be Googling your symptoms. You need to be reading about things. Now, I wouldn't suggest that you take a Google article into your medical doctor because they're just going to roll their eyes at that. But you need to go to your medical doctor armed with information that can give you good, solid questions to be asking your doctor. And also clue your doctor in that you are paying attention to your symptoms, that you are trying to advocate for yourself. And of course, do it in a very respectful way. But that would be the first thing that I would tell you. And the second thing I would tell you is that now, thankfully, likely in your community, there are good doctors out there who have branched outside of conventional medicine, and they are more listening to what are your symptoms, what is your body trying to tell us, and they are trying to practice medicine in an anti-aging way, as in, let's look at what will slow down the aging process. Or there's a new branch of medicine that's called functional medicine. And those doctors are popping up everywhere. And what they are focused on is, we don't want to just stop at looking at a symptom and perhaps prescribe a drug that's going to diminish that symptom. What is the root cause of that symptom to begin with? Let's go back and pull out the weed by its root. So then the symptom disappears because we found the origin of it. And those are very good physicians to have on your team, amongst many others that can help you, whether it is chiropractic, it's acupuncturist, it's herbalist, whatever. Many people can offer outside of advice to traditional medicine. And so I would just tell you that, in your area, I would definitely be looking for those titles of practitioners to see if you could add that to your medical team.
Absolutely. And I know there's many, books and things out there from doctors, medical doctors that have turned to the functional medicine route. And there's plenty of books out there to be read, even if it's a specific disease, or, just in general. Dr. Mark Hyman comes to mind for me.
Yeah, Dr. Gundry, there's many medical doctors traditionally trained who are now strong advocates for functional medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you and I both know this, that this is when you go this route and you're looking for an alternative to the conventional medicine side and you want to do something more natural, it's going to take longer. And in a lot of cases, it like conventional medicine, you might have to do some trial and error. Some things that you do may work and some things may not work. And so what would you tell that person that's going down that path that does kind of come across some of these stumbling blocks and wants to give up?
Well, the first thing I would tell them that it is true, Wendy, that natural, safer ways of healing are less potent, and therefore they're going to be more gradual in what they do for your body. And again, you're going to have to listen to your body. Are we a little bit better? We can't expect in 24 hours to be a lot better in the cases we're talking about. But that's going to be totally different to what the average person is used to. They're used to a pharmaceutical or a chemical that gives quick results to something, but it comes with hand in hand with side effects too. And so patience and listening to your body is going to be, a very, very important thing for you. But the second thing, and this is something you're not going to like me for, but you didn't get in this position with these symptoms without getting off the right habits road in most cases. Okay. And I'm talking about going back to the origins of disease. And one of the strongest things that gets us on the wrong road to health is our diet. Just what we eat, how we eat, when we eat. That alone can contribute to so many diseases that we see that are rampant in our society today. And so you are going to have to look at yourself honestly and say, what are the habits that I need to change? Am I a couch potato? Am I eating the right things? Am I exposing myself to toxic materials? Whatever it is, that is going to be your job to do. And there is no one pill that's going to fix your problems. If there were, that person would be a quadrillionaire, number one, and we would all be taking that pill. But that isn't the case. It is taking responsibility for your own health by changing the habits that you need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I were to sum that up, I'd say clean up your lifestyle. That could include your sleeping, your eating, your, like you said, removing the toxins from things we're not going to get away from them everywhere, but you can certainly remove them from the products that you're using. I had recently a functional medicine doctor say to me, are you seeing progress? And it was, the answer was, yes, it's slow. And she said, we're not looking for warp speed here. We're looking for progress. So when you're going down this road, don't be thinking warp speed. Be thinking, am I better than I was a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago?
Absolutely. I can tell you hands down on this journey, instant is temporary. Okay. Absolutely. So if you want a real fix, you're going to have to get to the root of the cause, and you're going to have to change those things that led to that symptom from the root. And it is, like you mentioned, it's going to be trial and error, Sometimes it's going to be going from one practitioner to another to try to figure out who gives you the best information and helps your body respond the best. And you want it to be long lasting, not just temporary.
Absolutely. And it is so well worth it. I mean, I can speak for myself. I know that you can speak for it. We've spent many years doing this, researching, refining, tweaking, and the end result of feeling good again is priceless.
Yes, I'm 63 and I feel better than I did in my 30s. Honestly, I was miserable back then. I feel better and I've learned things that hopefully will slow down the aging from here so that I can really enjoy the life that I've been blessed to have.
Like a fine wine, we are better with age.
Yeah.
So, if somebody wants to reach out to you and get some advice, maybe just run something by you, maybe just get a little bit of encouragement, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just reach out to me by email. My email address is agimfinder, and that's AGEMFINDER at AOL.com. And I'll do my best to give you some criteria, perhaps, to look for a good practitioner in your area. Of course, I can't practice medicine, but I can give you some advice or perhaps just tell you what I did in your situation. And that can give you, the right road to head towards.
Absolutely. And is there someplace they can follow you on social media?
I am at Healthy, Stronger, Younger, Longer. It's a long name. Healthy, Stronger, Younger, Longer is my address at Instagram.
Perfect. Well, Anne, this has been fun. It's been a pleasure. I've learned from this, even though we talk a lot. And I thank you for today.
Thank you so much for having me. And God bless all of you out there. There are answers for you. There is health for you. Don't you stop and just accept what's been told to you that was based on the laboratory. Just don't accept it. Say, no, my body's talking to me and telling me different.
Amen. Thanks again, Anne.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.